Can you see my screen, Wolf?
Yes, I can see it. All good.
Perfect. Let's just go and get Ivan's beautiful model. Here we go. There we go. That's good. It's nicely cut. All right. So to start off with, it is a bit of a learning curve, as all things are. Once you get to know how it works, then it gets a little bit easier. So my struggle, or our struggle, is, not only to develop this, but also to teach people how to use it. And the latter is a little bit challenging sometimes, depending on user experience. Okay. So yeah, so anyway, look at the video tutorials. They are an education, exactly like when we go to college or university to learn how to make this stuff. This isn't part of an education. So anyway, okay, so here we go. We've got a few teeth over here, 1, 2, 3, and we've got another tooth over here. And they've been already, with the wax up module or whichever way, they've been put into their position where they need to go. So we start off always the same way. Okay, so let's put this one in. I'm going to move from the top menu. I'm going to move down. Okay, we're not going to use all of the menus, by the way. All right, so we're going to throw this one into the working model, and then the other one we're going to throw into the antagonist. And then thirdly, we need teeth. If you don't have teeth, you would then import them and put them in. And you will notice that the teeth are, the mesh structure is a certain structure. We need to remesh these teeth, and we're doing that by putting it into that collection. Then we've got 3 collection. We do not need to use the outliner for the crown module, because everything we've brought the outliner into the menus. All right, so we can hide or we can see whatever we want to see. Okay, so that's the first part of the whole thing. The second part is the sectioning of the scans. Now, we need that if we have like veneers almost touching each other, so that we can work on each individual die or scan. So we're just chopping it all up into sections. So that's important when they are very close together. In this one, not so much, so I'm going to go straight ahead. We're going to skip this menu. We'll go to the next one, and this is where we draw our surfaces. So these are to make make our margins, basically. So okay, so if we're using the model design and we've already got margins, we would use this menu there just to convert it. So obviously now we haven't got that, so I'll just make my margins. So this is going to take a little while, so grab your coffee or whatever it is, and we shall. So I'm not going to focus too much on accuracy here, just to save some time.
Ivan's got the coffee.
That's number 1. Okay, we're going to create the surface, and then we're going to do the Pontic area. Okay, so that's the first one. With the Pontic area, we want to create a cutting object, number 1, and number 2, we want to create a die so that we can print it without having to print this model. So I'll show you this later on. So okay, we're going to draw this. Now, where do we draw this? So we can expose our restorations here. Basically, what I'm looking for is I just want to have a surface that covers more or less where my Pontic is. We'll just take that around like that. And we'll take
so Michael, it's
there.
a little bit larger than the tooth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this becomes a cutting surface.
Well, sure, if I make this design smaller, will be a problem?
As long as it's big enough for the cuttings, for us to cut the Pontic. yeah, underneath it. Okay, so you can make it smaller, but I'll show you in a moment how we deal with these Pontics. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the next one. That's the third one. See, it is helpful sometimes to section the scans because then we can see through this and move it. We've got better moving of the whole thing. Okay, let's just take this all the way. So if we have a very complicated margin, for example, and we need to have more vertices, we just subdivide it like this. Okay, so we're going to then create the next surface. You've got to be vigilant whether this is an upper or lower model. So don't click on the wrong one. Okay. And then the last one is the contact. Now, the contact is important because we need to make a miniature model of the contact so that we can offset.
Can you just
the
problem shoot that
contact.
one? Troubleshoot that one, Michael.
Notice how I angle it around 45 degrees. Okay, so this is important because once this is surveyed, let me show you, once this is surveyed, we're extruding it this way, okay? So if this line comes like this, you can imagine we've got the same thing happen like in the model design, okay? That's disastrous, and we can avoid that very, very easily by angling that a little bit. It's very simple to do. All right, so we're going to cut the last one. So excellent. All right, so we've got all the components necessary to make our bridge. We can save this, and I'm going to save as we go, okay? So the next thing is we're going to go to drill compensation, and we don't need this because I'm making a zirconia one. We're milling these zirconia, they are bigger. There's very seldom a drill can't get, a 1 millimeter drill can't get into where we're trying to cut out the zirconia. Maybe if it's an Emax, it's something different. But I can't see any sharp areas or anything. We're going to skip that menu altogether. Next, we're going to survey. So all of these, and we're going to then click on survey. If you do click the wrong button, say for example here, we're going to get an error code number 501. We've got a list of error codes you can look up. So the user is guided like a maze. You know, you go through a maze and then you find a wall and you can't go further. So we're going to channel the user appropriately. So here we're going to then survey the top. This is something that we've shown 2 of our users how to do this. They just don't get it, unfortunately. So what they're doing is they are surveying like this. Okay. Now there's a fundamental difference because what I'm doing is I'm moving the scene. And that's what we are trying to do is we want to move, we want to rotate these surfaces, okay? So if we do lose this, we're going to click on view bottom. If you click on view top, it'll give you an error message to click on view bottom. This will re-centralize that. Now it's as easy as going on the inside of one of these quadrants, left mouse finger down, and then rotating it. So we're going to rotate it so we can get a good bird's eye view of how this is. So we don't want to do this, for example, because it's going to create a block out and it's going to cut off our entire margin. So in the lab, what we would do is we would put it in a survey and we would look at it from the top, and we would then create a good path of insertion. Okay, and this is why we've taken the context, because they are just as important as anything else. Okay, then we're going to block it out. Okay, this takes a few seconds just to think.
Michael, can you show the menus better on your screen? I think there was a question. If
The
you
menus like
could,
this.
yeah, no, I don't know. There's on the Zoom, there's a little button there that you can take the gallery of the people away so you can see the full screen. I'm not sure how that works on the telephone though. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
No, I think
So
this is user specific. There's a little menu button up top right where you can just click the view button, and then you can do away with the, just a standard view or something, or gallery.
hide video panel. Is that the one?
I
Like
don't know.
that?
Try it. No, it doesn't make a difference. Just carry on.
All right. Okay. Next thing is we've got our block out models. They are transparent. We can see where they've been blocked out. So the next thing we're going to do is, of course, I'm going to save as I go. Okay. We're going
Now,
to go to
Michael, when we say we can make a model out of this later, this is what you're talking about, isn't it? The gray bits, the block out bits are going to be base then, isn't it?
not the gray ones. We've got dyes.
The
So
dyes
in the
will.
background, we've got some dyes that have been made,
Yeah.
which we can print those. You know,
Yeah. Maybe show us
the whole-
later. Show us later.
This is the reason. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Here we're going to differentiate. This is my contact. And I'm going to name it upper contact. If you're pressing any of the other buttons, it'll again give you an error message. So this is only to disclude that in the future algorithms. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put support margins on these because they need it so that the margins don't chip. Now I'm not going to include the Pontic area because it doesn't need a margin. Okay, so we're going to click on add support margin of 0.1. So, okay, you can choose between 50 micron, 100 micron, and 200 micron. But if you want to change that and you want to make the margin a little bit bigger or something, you just click the plus sign here, plus or minus. That just puts like a 0 point, I think it's 10 micron or something. It's very small incrementally. Or you can go into edit mode over here and then scale it if you want to, okay? So, and then if you don't like this margin, you can delete it and add a different margin or do them single or all together or whatever you want. So it's very flexible. So we're going to do the next one and we're going to then focus on the die spacer and the zone. Now this button here will do it automatically. It'll take the default values. But so I'll do one without the default values, and we've done this in a video before. So this, I'm going to click on add spacer. If you by mistake click on the Pontic area, sorry, you can't do that. So only ones with the margins will work. Now this one, the distance is 1 millimeter away from the margin. This is the margin distance. As I move this, I can move this up and down. We can't go 0, okay? So the default value is 1 millimeter away from the margin. If you want to invert it, someone asked me, they want to invert the die space. Now, I've never done that in the lab ever, but maybe that's a technique of bonding to enamel. So that makes sense, you know. So this would then be invert. So we can invert and decide how far up or down the die we want to go, okay? So that's another thing. So I'll put it back to the default value and then we're going to accept that. Now, before we accept that, the default value of that is 50 microns. This is double. It says times 2. If we want to make it 100 microns, we just put in 0.2 or I've put in 0.2 or whatever how thick we want to have the die spacer. Now the die space is important because it's also an engineering fit. So we've got a little bit of clearance between the crown and the die. So it's got a very important function, and it also becomes the inside surface of the crown. We're going to accept the spacer. Again, if you press the wrong button, don't worry about it because it'll stop you. We're going to add a safety zone. Now this safety zone is a measure. It's a visual measure only so that we can see when we make the crown how thick it is, because we don't want to make it too thin. Default is 0.5 millimeters, or double, it's 1 millimeter here, okay, because it goes on the inside and on the outside. So think of it like a circle with a radius and diameter. This would be then the diameter. Okay, then we're going to accept the zone. For the other one, we'll just click on the auto spacer just to make it fast. So you can do all of them in one shot, and okay. Depending on how many you're doing, it would also depend on how long it's going to take. So if you've got 8 or something, it will take a little bit of time just to do all the calculations. All right, then we've got all of the elements required to finish, to make a crown. But all right, and this is the halfway point between making a crown or making a coping. So everything follows the exact same path up to this stage, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to view my antagonist, because we're going to do the occlusal adjustments. Here, I'm going to select my antagonist. If you've got crowns, or if you've got this one split up, then you just select all of them in one go, okay? And we're going to create a cutting tool. Now this antagonist, we can offset it. We've explained that with a single crown. The default is 0.1. And why do we do that? Is because if we cut surface to surface, it would probably be high and bite. So if you don't want your bridge high and bite and you want it clear, then you would then offset it, and it's set at 100 microns offset. You can change that. So if you consistently get high crowns, you would change that one over there, and then you'd apply that. So it follows a logic procedure, and it's exactly like what we would do in the lab. So here we've got in transparent, this is our cutting tool. We're going to now select our little bridge unit. So this one, shift left click, and we're going to group these together for live trimming. Okay, so as you see, we can move these. So as I move this one, it gets trimmed, it gets chopped off by the top. And this is very important because we don't want to lose all of our beautiful anatomy, number one. And number two, we can control where it's going to cut. So of course we can see here it's going to cut. And this one here, I'm going to move this one up a little bit like this. Now, of course, we won't do this because we're going to lose the half of the tooth. So again, it's like in the lab, you know, when we do a denture or something, we make sure that we don't cut the entire tooth to shreds. Okay. So here we can set that as well. So if you want to set it out of bite or whatever. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we can trim these. Now we can edit the mesh at the same time, or we can trim it. I find this is a bit, takes a bit of time because there's a Boolean modifier there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim these. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to edit this mesh. Now we want this mesh to be beyond our pencil line. If we can get it something like this, that would be good. So select, use a G key, and then just stick it down beyond that blue line like this. Okay, and that can it's, if you've got a tooth which is got a long root, for example, you want to always make sure it covers that. Okay, something like that. That's good enough. Okay. And of course, I'm looking at my green zone to see that it hasn't bitten into my green zone, but it hasn't, so that's all good. Here, Just move that down a little bit like that. Okay, back into object mode. I'm going to go to this one here and do exactly the same thing. It's a bit like pulling a sock over your foot. All right, here we go like that. Okay, so if you want to further enhance it or something, you can go to the inflate. Like here, for example, I'll just go into the inflate and I can just do this. Okay, so that's all good. Okay, then we've got a button here to mark antagonist. If it has trimmed into the green zone, we would then mark the antagonist. So this is basically finished. We can generate this crown. So we're going to go to generate crowns. Perfect. And I'm going to select my crown and we're going to then generate up a crown. And we'll just wait a little bit. All right, so that's done it. So let's just go to this one. And you can also click generate. So essentially what that does, it takes the tooth library and that merges it together with the inside of our cut, our surface that we've initially created. All right, perfect. Okay. It's like magic. Every time I see that, I think, whoa. All right. So that's all good. We're going to then, we can smooth it now or we can smooth it later, but let's go to the Pontics. We can hide our segments and whatever we want to hide. I'm going to hide the antagonist for now. And we're going to go to our Pontic section. Now this is where we design our Pontic. Now, as I've said to you before, we need to make sure this is on the inside. So the first thing we do is we're going to, again, we're going to select your Pontic. We're going to basically name your Pontic. Then what we're going to do is we're going to edit the mesh. Now, if your Pontic is, you could be in a situation where your Pontic is like this. Now the reverse applies. We want this to be on the inside of the line. Okay, so this is very important. All on the inside, because everything inside the blue line is going to cut this Pontic. Now, some of my clients wouldn't want a ridge lap Pontic. I mean, this is just basic dental technology, you know, for a patient to clean underneath or something. If you do want to change your design of the Pontic, we would then shift. We would shift this. We would move this mesh, and it adheres. You know, as you see it adheres where we place it. So we can then design the shape of our Pontic in this manner. Okay. So once we're happy with it, we will then cut it. Okay, so we're going to click on Cut Pontics. Okay, there's something not quite right here. Just go back. I've been working on this today. Let's just have another look at this. Cut Pontic. Okay, I think it was because it was in edit mode. Okay, so that's fine. So let me just write this. Okay, no, just kidding. I know what to do. Okay, so here we've got the Pontic cut, and now it's time to join these units up. Okay, so we're going to go into bridging, and what we're going to do here is we're going to select these three, and we're going to click on Bridge Units to Collection, which puts it into a new collection, and we're going to, I've called it Welding because it's a bit like welding. And what it's doing now, it's creating an expanded sort of a tissue model, which you can see, which has been offset, and that protects what we are doing underneath it as well. So here I'm going to put my weld, and this is like really super cool because we're going to go shifty, and it's a bit like water. As you can see, it's like, it's just incredible how this works. I just love Blender, how it works. So we can decide where we want to put these little blobs. Okay, so I'm going to choose, we'll just take this and extend it. So basically we want to put it all the way around our model. Then I'm going to go to the other side. If you wanted to strengthen it as well, we can strengthen it. So there's a lot we can do. So I'm going to go to the other side, Shift D to duplicate, scale, Shift D, Shift D. So it's exactly what we're doing in the lab. We're taking a bit of wax and we're just waxing it where we want to wax it. Okay. We're going to go to the other side. Excellent. And I'm going to just take it down all the way, like that.
I think we should have a shape, you know, to adapt for the micro brushing, you know, so the patients, we are sure we can micro brush there. So we can put a conical shape in between the interproximal area. So we are sure they you could brush there.
I love the way you think. I think this is such a good idea.
Yeah.
It really is.
I
So,
patented it just now.
It's fantastic idea. So we don't have to worry about going on the inside of our fitting surface or too close or overlapping the margins, because it will take care of all of that. Okay, so I'm going to click on Join Weld. Okay, so that unifies it. Okay, it looks a little bit rough at the moment, but we can then smooth this weld down. Okay. Okay, so here I'm going to just smooth it down a bit. Okay, so notice that the inside is protected. I don't have to worry about the inside fitting surface. It's all been protected. In fact, at this stage now, I can smooth the entire thing. Now you may think, okay, well, you know, maybe these connectors may have interfered with my bite, which it can. I mean, we don't know. In that case, we can go back to our cutter, like we've done our occlusal cutter, and just give it another cut. But then I would offset it at maybe, because it's been offset at 0.1, I'd probably do it 0.11 to make sure that we get a good Boolean cut. Okay. And then there's others that may say, okay, but I want to measure this contact to make sure that it's thick enough. Okay, in that aspect, we would then make a cross section. Sorry, Alt B, make a cross section. We're going to view it through edit mode. Okay, I'm going to choose a vertex here and a vertex over there. Yeah, and we're going to click on this add measurement. Then we're going to click on the eye to view it, and we're going to change that to millimeters. So we know this is 7.46, and let's measure from here down to there, like this, and we're going to add a new measurement. So I need to select this one and this one, add a new measurement, 5.40. So if that's not big enough, then we can exit that And then all we need to do is then we need to inflate it. So that's quite easy. We just go in here and then inflate this section. Very easy to do. Okay, let's hide, let's delete those. All right, so that's all. So our bridge is almost finished. The very last thing that we do need to do is design that contact, remember, because that contact right in the beginning is something we need to design. So we're going to go contact, and we're going to view this contact, click on it, and we're going to then make an auto contact cutter, or you can select how big you want your contact to be, how loose. But okay, so for now, okay, we'll just do it the manual way instead of the auto contact. And you can see this is the path that we had initially surveyed. It's transparent gray, and we shall then the default offset is 50 microns. So if you think you want a looser one, or you want to put a filling here, or in the front section of the mouth you want a diastomer or something, I've created this so that we are very flexible in this contact design. So we'll keep it at 50 microns. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the bridge, and then we're going to shape our contact. Just save it, shape contact. Okay. And then what we can do is we can see, okay, say for example, we want to increase it over here or whatever. We can hide the segment, look at it from the side, and then just increase that. Okay, like that. So this is a bit like a glass window that we are looking through. And I'm going to view my model. You see how I've changed that? And then when we are satisfied with that, we're going to cut it. So it uses this to cut the contact. And then we're going to smooth it. Smooth with protection. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to exit that. And this bridge is then completed.
And Michael, now that's a good point that Baptista mentioned with the to get an interproximal brush under there. Is there a sculpt tool that you can think of that would create a wedge, not a crease, of a certain measurement?
Look, Wolf, maybe a crease would be good. I think if you would put something in there, and you could see through it, then we could perhaps sculpt it so that it is, you know, we can sculpt through it, just like I've got the contact cutter. Do you know what I mean?
I like an
We could maybe,
interproximal contact cutter. Maybe you can introduce a horizontal,
yeah,
a cylindrical shape,
a cylinder,
cylindrical, and we just go through there, and we can adapt very nicely.
and then scale
good
it.
idea.
If you can scale it, yeah.
Different type of measurement for the micro brush.
I love it. I love it.
Actually, could you connect it only at the
Very,
contact point itself? Let's imagine there are two crowns, and we have
yes.
contact between the teeth, just there to be welded.
So you've got two crowns. Yeah, you can do it. If you've got two adjacent crowns, you can fuse them together. Is that what you're meaning?
Yes, and imagine this one is the Pontic, but nevertheless, it's the same idea, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right, so this is finished. If, like I've said to you, if you wanted to recheck the bite, for example, we can cut it as well. It would be a good idea to smooth it down a bit, like here, for example, in the margins, you know, to get a nice finish. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. So smooth crown with protection. And then I'll just show you guys what the mesh structure actually looks like.
I've got a question, Michael. So on the fitting surface of the Pontic, it is now protected. So we can't actually smooth that at all anymore. Is that correct?
No, it's protected.
No. And yeah, all right. What's the offset that you use to cut the tissue fitting surface? Because you
But
use,
underneath the Pontic,
yeah, between that and the Pontic.
it's 0.
Oh, okay, 0.
It's-
Of course, because the gum gives way, so you get, I mean, it won't really blanch at a surface to surface.
You could
It's
also remove
0.
the masking area. You could remove the masking while sculpting, and you could add or remove or smooth. Even if it is protected, you can remove the protection with the menu there.
Well, that would be a good one, but you got to
I do
be
it all the
very
time for the
careful.
mouse guard, because when you do the mouse guard, you want to have rounded edge for the upper parts. So
Yeah.
when I finish the mouse guard because now I do triple layers, and for the final layer, I want to round it. So I use the sculpt in the sculpt mode, in the masking sculpt mode. I remove the masking for like 1 or 2 millimeter, and after
And
I
then
round
smooth it. Yeah, yeah.
it can be possible
Look,
to do it just like that. It's okay.
yeah, look, because if I click on smooth, it takes the vertex group, converts it to a mask. Okay, so let me show you smooth. And then what we can do, we need to be very careful when we do this, because if I go here, mask, I can remove the mask. Look here, clear mask, and it's gone. But now we have to be very careful when we smooth it, because we need to stay away from our fitting surface.
But
Yeah.
if you want not to remove all the mask, you just go back one step and check, redo your mask. You go into the sculpt mode and you just remove the mask just in the area you want to be removed. You know, in the sculpt mode, it's the button underneath the simplify one.
Okay, yes, you're 100% correct. You're 100%
So just for the
correct.
Pontic area,
Yes,
can you do that?
just paint the mask. Just go back 3 steps before.
I know exactly what you are saying. So here, okay, so what we're going to do is down here.
Yes, and you do the minus. Yes, that's exactly what I do.
This is what you're talking about. We go
Yes.
minus.
Yeah, and you
Very,
just
very,
minus
very
the
clever.
yes, this area.
Can
Very
you add
clever.
that to the menu button for the Pontic?
Yes, I can, Wolf, I can.
Yeah, I think that's a
when-
good idea, because otherwise sometimes you can end up with really sharp edges, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And then we can flatten it, or we can, and then it's protected. Good idea. I like this. So,
And of course you
you're on the
can
right.
bulge it out now as well if you wanted to.
And put it into the gum to have a nice emergency profile also.
Inflate. Yeah, we can inflate it. We can bulge it out. Yeah, you're on a roll today.
I
course
have
you-
a final nice idea, but I will wait for 1 second to rub
But
it.
don't try and fit it on your printed model. It won't fit.
No, it won't fit. But you
Yeah,
can use it as a cut to cut the model also.
Yeah. No, I think this is really
My
good.
final idea was about the live streaming tool. I really like the live streaming tool, but what I want is when I put my case in articulator and I have animated all the motion, what I want to have a dynamic live cutting tool. So what I was thinking of is when you do the dynamic cut, we do 13 cuts. So we have 13 models. So we can imagine doing a live streaming with all the 13 model merged together. And so when you live stream all the motion all together.
When I first developed the articulator, this is exactly what I thought. The problem is the upper model, because if you want to trim a lower splint or crown or whatever, you don't have the upper model that has been moved so that we've got 13 models to merge them into. Do you know what I mean? So it'll work with the lower, but it won't. I did all of the scripting and the coding for the entire section. I moved to the upper and I called Wolfgang. Oh, this is not going to work.
Yes, I was not thinking about the upper one.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so we've got a bridge, okay? Now I'll just delete this bridge. And now you've got instructions. Okay, you don't want to have a bridge, you want copings instead. Now, what on earth do we do? Okay, so that's quite easy, because what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our midway point, which is the zones. So we need to expose our zones. Okay, so let's just go and look for our zone. We'll go into the coping menu here, coping. Okay, copings. Let's have a look at our zones. We've got some little object here. We can delete it. It's a little stray, like a stray puppy.
It's from
Okay,
the
so what
connector, I think.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to separate these, because say I want to do one coping. Okay, now this is very good, because in a front tooth, for example, we've made a front tooth and the shape is not right. Okay, patient comes back, it doesn't look right, you know how they are, front tooth. And you've picked a tooth library and it didn't work for you, so you're going to cut off the other central to mirror image it. And so you don't want to do the whole thing again. So here we've called up the project and we are back at the midway mark, which is absolutely fantastic, because I can put another tooth library here and then make a new crown, which is fantastic. So here, for example, let's make a coping. Okay, so, and we can do this over and over and over again, which is absolutely cool, I think. So, okay, here what we'll do is we're going to create a coping layer. And then we're going to set the thickness. Okay, it's 0.5. It may be a bit too thin for some people, maybe too big for some people. We're going to accept that. And then we can edit the mesh. Okay. And we can say, okay, maybe we need a bit more support here. Actually, you know what? Let's just bring in our antagonist. Okay. So we can say, okay, let's just bring this a little bit more. Maybe we're doing a PFM or whatever, and we need more support or something. So, okay, and here in between, here we need some more porcelain support or whatever it may be, So like this, I'm going to extend it outward like that. Or you can even have it touching. Okay, I've actually got it touching, which is cool. Because, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to object mode and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to trim this with my antagonist. Okay, so we're just going to wait and it's going to cut it at an offset of 0.1 at a default. So we know then that the coping will actually touch for additional support. So here we go. We can, if we view this here, it's cut it. Okay, so we've got like a bite spot, Then, especially like in excursive movements, sometimes, we've always been asked to put a metal bite spot in excursive movements, for example, if the tooth is overhanging the bottom tooth. So this is a good example of how we can do this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click on this and then we're going to create upper coping. So we'll click on that and we're just going to wait for our coping.
So this model is not mounted on the articulator. There is no animation, but on this particular case. But you could just put the timeline in another position and do the cut on the exclusive.
100%. Yeah, and then we get a good excursive. And you see here we've got our coping, and let's just hide the antagonist here. We've got our little cut over there, which is super cool. And then, of course, we need to smooth it as well a little bit. And I just want to point out the inside of it, what it looks like. Okay, exit, Control I, H to hide. And we can, if we examine the mesh structure, we've got quite a nice mesh structure. It's homogeneous, it's nice, it's all spaced apart evenly, the inside as well. We've got a few things on the inside which are remnants of our model or our block art model. We have, yeah, so that's, and if you look at it, this line over here is our cement line. Yeah, that's our die spacer, which has been cut inside for cement space. All right, so that sort of concludes it, I think. Are there any questions? Love to answer any questions that come up.
Just about reduction bridges, Michael. Can you just elaborate on that?
All right, so this is the menu down here, frames. I haven't finished the menu yet, okay? So the idea of it is to put your tooth library in the position where you want the teeth. And then we're working from the outside inside. So maybe I can bring in the tooth library. I'm not 100% sure if this is all working, but I'll try. So choose. So this is wrong. Okay, let's just go back. Okay, here, import. I'll take maybe this one. Choose teeth. Maybe these three. Okay, and all right. So the idea behind this is to work from the outside inside. So to explain, so we're going to voxel remesh this one. So as I've said, there's quite a bit of work still to be done on this one. And they will join up automatically like you see here. But if we put it 0.2, it joins up more than 0.1. Let's just apply this. And then we're going to create a frame. And all right, so the thickness, except frame. Let's just see if this works. It may not work. All right, yeah, I think it did. Okay, so we've got, okay, this was the tooth library beforehand, and this is our frame, whether it's zirconia or metal or whatever. So we've got our shell, which is the wireframe, and we've got the frame. So we're working on the, from the outside, we are reverse engineering. And then this one is going to be joined automatically onto our abutments. So there's not much work to do at all. So we don't need to join them. We don't need to do anything. They're then joined to our abutments and we've got the framework finished. Okay, so that's still to come. I'm still working on it. It's 80% completed.
So
Oh,
just
sorry.
No, you go ahead, Baptiste.
You know, sometimes my lab technician, he gave me some guided preps because I do some not so nice preparation. So he does not have enough space to make the work. So he prints me a small thing. I can put it on the teeth so I can know where to cut to have the necessary space. Have you planned to implement it for the crown and bridge module or not?
Look, I think you can, you know, if you do this at 0.4, for example,
yeah.
And then we'd have to then look through it. We'd have to look through it to see that the preps. So we're not really surveying. Okay, we would then just take it. We could use the model designer.
Just you cut the
vertex cutting tool, maybe.
Not even, Wolf. We could look through it and we can see.
I
Okay,
just lasso it.
We need to lasso. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So we just take a lasso and we just make a cut where we need to cut. That's just my.
Oh yeah. Now you're going to take the whole margin with it.
I don't know. Am I?
Yeah, but you just have to tilt a little bit more. And I understand. So now you can just print it, put it on your tooth, you do the cutting, and it's.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You can put it on the tooth and then
Oh,
you
so
can
now
just
you
nip
could
it off
actually
where you
cut
need to.
the scan as well, can't you? Or not really, and then plug it. I
But
suppose
yes, but
it's,
you should change the scan because what you need is that your restoration drives the preparation, and you have the preparation before, and you want the dentist to change his preparation when you do the
yeah.
when you put
Yes.
the final prosthesis.
So now
So-
you'd have to cut the scan as
So now you
well.
have to cut, and after you can bring back your design.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the
So-
coping is also the coping can be used to do that. Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
that's actually, that's
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good
I'm
like
on
a
fire.
reduction coping.
And this is why it's so good that we can make our bridge and coping or bridge, and we can chop and change within the module, that we can create this and not have to do all the digital work from scratch. So that's a good alternative. Someone else has said that maybe there's copings we can use, like zirconia copings, to block out devitalized gray or black teeth. We can make a thin layer, which is opaque. Dentists can put it on to mask it and then put a nice whatever over the top. You know?
Michael, can you show, is it possible to include a telescopic coping?
Wolfgang, I think that would be a miniature module by itself, to be honest.
Yeah, because we spoke about that. We probably need a implant bar and, you know, telescope, small little menu dedicated to those things.
For telescopic work.
Because with
Absolutely.
the bar is also milled, and we want to put attachments on the bar as well. So if you want to have steps or something in there.
I think that would be a milled thing. That this is a side issue, because I don't want it to get too involved anyway. I think it's already quite involved as it is.
And then the other
Crown
question, we
module.
had an inquiry from a big German company to do a zirconia bridge frame, but then have an Emax pressing bridge cemented over the bridge frame.
Over the top, yeah. Look, Wolfgang, that's another thing we would have to think about, because you need to worry about undercuts. You need to worry about all of that, because if you've got a bridge on top of a bridge already, we need to make sure that everything is.
I think that all the tools are here ready for this, but it would be like a playlist of how to get to the end result.
Yeah, and then lastly, we needed implants. So the implant crown menu is there, and instead of using the component module to fuse the hollow tooth library onto our implant abutments, I actually made a video of this yesterday. We will then fuse a tooth library to our abutments, and this is really helpful, because if we're doing like an all-on-4 or whatever case, we can then merge that to our implant abutment very quickly and fast. So that's going to be included in this module. I'm still busy developing this at this stage.
Excellent.
Excellent. So I'm going to stop sharing. I just see all of your faces. Okay, there's only three other faces.
Hey, look.
Okay.
There's another
Okay.
one that disappeared.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else care to share their face? No.
No.
All good.
Okay.
So, yeah, thanks for joining.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's always good to see you guys. Okay.
Yeah, if you've got some more ideas or whatever, so we can just include those into the crown module, would be good. Yeah.
I have tried print some mouse guard with a polyjet printer, trying to allow the thing, and it don't work at all. But I just try, and I just cut it to see if the company reach what I want, but it just don't work as like this. So I've moved back to, because it was single layer with hollowing, hoping that polyjet could help us print with bubble in it. In fact, it just don't work. So I moved back to 3 per layer, and I work quite a lot with the splint, and I also agree with Wolfgang. I think that some module, they can be just like a playlist, changing the way the buttons are just displayed, and you can just achieve the same result, but much more quicker if it's developed for this. So perhaps we can do a mouse guard module. I don't know if it's interesting at all, but so now we are printing as we speak the 3 layer, 2 ABT, one quite small, one very soft for the tooth, and one hard shell to protect the vestibular part of the teeth. I will show you that tomorrow. I'm going back to the lab tomorrow to see that. I think we have made some huge progress. We are in the 7 version of the prototype, and quite nice. And we will bring the biomechanical studies on September. But I think we are almost there to have a very nicely printed mouse guard.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
It's a big market, the mouth guard market, I think.
Yeah.
Especially in Australia. I think we've got a question. Ivan's been very patient.
No, talking about what just mentioned, I'm working with ABS like resin, one special formulated resin for this purpose. So what I am thinking here, if we can, I'm thinking together, articulation, verti, and the base. If I get resin in good shape and working fine, I think next week we will have these first samples. We at this group can start printing these frames in-house, so you can have your own production. It will be much more easy. And it's not like a resin that I choose from some brand. I'm working with a chemical engineer, and he is formulating this resin with this proposal.
Is that for the base that we were developing? Yeah.
Yes. Because if you depend and waiting for the company outside to print and send you, it's too much time. If I can get this resin in good shape, that is engineering, wherever, hardness, you guys can have, I can send samples of this resin for you guys, and you can start printing and doing your own tests.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
a really
More
good
easy.
idea.
That's
Because
good.
it's not I am like searching, digging for a resin. No, I'm working with the engineer, chemical engineer. I asked to him what I want. He's from big company side, and he's like formulating resin with exactly this characteristic for us.
Excellent.
I think
That's
it's more
good.
make more sense for what we are doing, not like just be hostage of outside printing company.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
Probably next week I will have the first good samples printed, and soon I have the resin in good shape. We can organize and send samples for you guys.
I would like that.
Very nice.
Excellent. Lots of progress here. So I think we'll release a release candidate after this, and
Okay.
we should maybe a slightly more limited supply of that before we go full out with the crown and bridge. I would say, what do you think realistically, Michael, time frame?
I
2
can't
weeks?
say, Wolfgang. No, absolutely
No,
not.
okay.
No. No, I've still got quite a lot to do.
Okay.
You know, and so have you with the official videos and all of that stuff. You know, we've still got to do implants and all of that. So there's still a little bit of time, but you know, we'll see how it goes. So
Excellent.
I think we're all excited about this, and yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Anyway, guys, off to sleep. It's
Thank
night
you.
time here.
Thanks
I
for
need a
joining.
minute with. I
Have a
need a
good
minute
day.
after this.
Okay, well, we'll wait. Okay. Cheers to all of you.
Bye
Cheers,
bye.
cheers
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.